So continuing on from the previous video, I continue my adventure on trying to max out my class levels for the remaining classes. And surprisingly to me actually is that I haven't maxed out Forest yet. I think it's probably because Forest decks tend to be a bit difficult, so even though Forest is like in my top 3 probably favorite classes, I haven't been playing it much, so today we'll be trying to remedy that with, of course, the Forest deck of the expansion, the Golden Child, Loxis Forest. The reason why it took me so long to get to this deck, even though it's such a popular and well-known deck for this expansion, is very simple because it's very difficult to play and it took me a while to learn. So now that I can play at a decent level, obviously I'm not like a god gamer or anything with this deck, I'm not an expert. Now that like I sort of understand how it goes and how to play this deck, I feel like it's finally time for me to make a video on Loxis Forest. A bit late in the expansion, but oh well, what can you do, right? So yeah, let's look at the deck list I'm running. So for today we will be playing some Loxis Forest here. As you can see, this is the list we'll be running today. Most of this is pretty straightforward stuff. The star of the deck is of course Loxis here. Ability: whenever an ally amulet comes into play, recover a play point, and whenever an ally leaves play, you can summon a steed, bike, or personnel carrier, and then you can summon each of them once per turn and it goes through them. So yeah, pretty strong card here. We have a lot of amulets to go along with it, of course, with the Natura package to get amulets in play and out of play so that you can get Loxis's vehicles out. And then we have Varmint Hunter, a very powerful card that Loxis combines with. Whenever an amulet leaves play, deal 3 damage to enemy follower and 1 to the enemy leader. And then we have Wolfrod here. Wolfrod here is just for the Sanctuary Haven matchup and possibly the Necromancy Shadow matchup as well. The way to turn those matchups on their head, otherwise they will be pretty annoying to deal with. So we have Wolfrod. If you want a more reliable and generally applicable tech card, you can consider running Resolve of the Fallen instead. I think it's more standard to run Resolve, but this is how much I hate Sanctuary Haven, I guess, so we're playing Wolfrod to do that. You can also consider running Wandering Chef if you're having trouble with aggro matchups, but yeah, this is the list we'll be running today, so let's look at some games. So our first game for the day is against Shadow, and we are going first here. Shadow is usually aggro, although it could be Necromancy. If it's Necromancy, we can use Wolfrod, but for the mulligan, I would just mulligan as if it's aggro. For the mulligan, we just look for Alchemical Confectioner, and the Respite, the 2-cost spell that generates a 0-cost tree. And that's about it. You can consider keeping Loxis in some matchups, but this is not the matchup for keeping Loxis. If you're going second against Shadow, or maybe even going first, you can consider keeping Elf Queen as well, just to answer their white boards on your evil turn. And yeah, the goal of the early game is just to try and set up Loxis. So there's the Respite, we have Fertile Aether. You have to get used to doing some Loxis math with the play points, which we will get into in a bit, but for now, we just minimize the damage coming to our face. My opponent does trade into Kokoro there, which is fine. Got Wolfrod here, we don't really need him for this matchup. We go ahead and just heal Ramiel just as a ward to protect our face, and we get rid of the skeleton, so we have 1 less damage coming to face. Opponent does drop the Helio here as well as the Evo, so that will summon a Lich next turn, which is a bit annoying, but oh well. And they do trade here, which is good for us, because the more they trade, the less damage comes to our face. So we just go ahead and use Elf Queen. And Fertile Aether can be played for 0 play point. Oh well. Fertile Aether can be played for 0 play points, so for example, if I had Kokoro here, I could play it alongside, but since I didn't have that, go ahead and evolve the Elf Queen to clear their board and then drop the Dutiful Steed here. The Dutiful Steed here is to set up Loxis next turn. If you want to do some math here, Nature and Great Tree is worth 1 play point because we don't have another tree. Fertile Aether will be worth 1 play point as well. And then, if we want to play Varmint next turn, we need to get 1 more play point, because after Loxis we'll have 1 left. This will generate 1, this will generate 1, which puts us at 3 play points. So by putting down a Dutiful Steed, we can get our last amulet to be able to play Varmint next turn if we want to do that. Also worth noting that with just a tree and Fertile Aether, we can only pull out 1 vehicle, so putting one Beautiful Steed in advance sets up another vehicle for Loxis, so these are things to keep in mind when you're playing Loxis. Generally you do want to combo it with some kind of storm that you can use, but in this case you don't really have one. Pick out Giant Pastures here. I decided that instead of going Loxis here, we can just go Pastures here. Setting up Pastures into Loxis on turn 7 is another very standard play, and it's worth doing because the output is much stronger with Loxis being heavily buffed by the Pastures amulets. And they had a white board anyway, which is a bit difficult to clear with Varmin because most of their followers had 4 health instead of 3 and under, which is what Varmin is good at. So this turn's case, they go for this board, which is all 2-2, so this is a perfect chance to go for Loxis. Play Loxis here, both amulets go away, and then we get 2 amulets. We'll play Varmin here. Generally you do want to get rid of the Varmin's Beautiful Steed because you just don't have the board space to support it. And here we try to draw into a nice payoff we can use for our amulets that we are about to generate. A Storm Follower would have been ideal here, but unfortunately we didn't pick one up, so go ahead and evolve the Varmin here. Get the end. It's worth considering I could have played the Wolf to draw into my deck to hopefully find something else to buff besides Wolf Rod. Problem is, if I did that and I didn't draw anything else to buff with Wolf Rod, then I wouldn't have enough play points to play Wolf Rod. So here I decided to just play it safe, drop the Wolf Rod here, and just assume my opponent won't be able to clear this board. We are not in the modern era where you have to OTK your opponent or your bot doesn't matter, so just having a sturdy bot can sometimes be enough. We do force our opponent to play their Impulse here, which is very nice. Impulse that's not going to your face is a great Impulse. I'm gonna go ahead and clear my Loxis here, but they can't get rid of the Varmin Hunter, so they will just be dead next turn to Deep Wood Wolf. And then here I guess you can just weave in a nice lesson in case you forget. Deep Wood Wolf has the ability to evolve if you play an Accelerate card, so keep that in mind in case you need to evolve it for some reason. So that's it for this game, let's move on to the next one. So our next game here is against Forest and we're going second. Forest is a bit of a conundrum because both Aggro and Loxis are common. Generally, though, Aggro is the worst matchup, so you should probably mulligan for an Aggro matchup. I keep Shama here in case I need to clear followers early on, which as you can see is very common. I do keep it though. I guess to pair with Varmin Hunter on my Evo turn is most likely the case. Varmin Hunter, Evo, Giant Pastures, Shama clears a bunch of followers, which is probably what I was looking at. So for this time we just go ahead and heal out. If we have Alchemical Confectioner here, so if we pick up Loxis we can look at Loxis on turn 5, so that's worth noting, although my opponent is going pretty wild with their board here. Oh, great for me. Go ahead and play the Confectioner here. See if we can set up for a turn 5 Loxis. Generally, if you can pull off turn 5 Loxis, it doesn't matter how low you are, you will probably win the game unless you go to 2 health. 2 health is probably the threshold where you should be worried against Aggro Forest, but since we don't pick up the Loxis here, we just play safe and go Varmin to clear the board. We evolve the Varmin here. Accelerate Pastures and then play Shama to clear a bunch. Shama also gains Storm, so she will be able to clear a follower as well. So this is a nice full clear. You see my opponent's hand is very low now, so this should be a position where I can come back from hopefully. Although my hand's not super great either. My opponent does have Varmin Hunter as well, which will allow him to clear my board, which is a bit unlucky, but it's fine. And I do have Wolf Rod as well, so we do have to clear the Wolf Rod here because if they manage to get the buff effect on the Evo, it's going to be very annoying for me. Thankfully we do pick up Varmin off the top here, so we can go ahead and use that to clear. We evolve our Varmin. Use the Nature Great Tree just to draw into our deck. I was of course saving them in case I found Loxis, but in this case I think it's better to just draw into the deck. And we just get one more tree here as well as healing up to keep ourselves healthy. It's worth considering playing Shama at some point because it gets very difficult to play once you run out of trees to pair her with, so that's worth noting. My opponent decides to save that Evo point here. I guess they decide that Varmin is not enough of a threat to clear, which is an interesting decision, but I'll take it. to go ahead and just draw into our deck more, try to find good cards, as well as clearing their void using Varmint and getting as much chip out of the Varmint's effect as we can. And punch them in the face here and put them down to 8. And they go Skuna here, which is fine. And they have a Vagabond Lizard as well, which is scary because we almost die here, but thankfully we don't die, which is good. And they will evolve the Vagabond Lizard to get rid of my Varmint, but as we saw in the last game, Deepwood Wolf for some reason evolves into a 6-6 even though it's a 3-3, so just remember that Deepwood Wolf has this much damage. So you can win without Loxis like this, so let's move on to the next game. This game we have a game against Haven and we are going second. Important to learn skill for this deck, I guess, is winning without Loxis. So even though this is a Loxis deck showcase, we only have one game that we win with Loxis. Spoilers. Last game we saw how you can win using storm damage even without relying on Loxis. This time we are also gonna win without Loxis. As you can see, we have Wolf Rod here. This matchup, Sanctuary Haven, is just free with Wolf Rod, so once you see you're playing against Haven, you might consider keeping Wolf Rod, even though against Ward, Haven Wolf Rod is not that strong, but it's kind of free against against the Sanctuary Haven, so we just keep Wolf Rod here. Opponent plays the Yukari here, which is actually very good for us because it gives us access to Yukari later on with our Wolf Rod, which is very good for making sure we don't die before we draw all our cards. They do just drop the Sanctuary here, which is completely fine. We are just going to ramp. And by doing so, we can get to Wolf Rod one turn faster, and hopefully they won't play too many cards so that we can get an easy win with Wolf Rod later on. Our opponent plays Lorena here, which is actually very good because she cycles, because she generates the Holy Water. And also she gives us a Holy Water as well when we play our Wolf Rod, so that's very nice for us. And this time we just apply a bit of pressure on them, so we just play Giant Pastures here. It's worth considering evolving the Ramia here and trading to force them to play Zelganea so that we can get Zelganea off Wolf Rod. But I think it's... Actually, yeah, I probably should have done that. I don't know why I didn't do that. Probably should have done it, but oh well, I guess I didn't do it. Let's go another Lorena here, which is very, very good for us. Before you play Wolf Rod, generally it is worth going into the tab to check what your opponent has played. In this case, they've played Jewel of Brilliance, which is kind of a cycle. Unfortunately, if we draw Holy Sanctuary first, then Jewel of Brilliance will be a dead card. We have two Lorena's Holy Water, which are both cycles. Traveler's Respite unfortunately won't be a cycle because we don't have another tree. Unless they keep the tree in their hand, then we can get another tree off the Traveler's Respite, which is pretty funny. And then we have Yukari to help us survive, and two more Lorenas, which are both cycling cards. So pretty good Wolf Rod here, so we'll just go ahead and play it. Probably should hit into them with the Pastures here, but I guess it doesn't really matter, since we're trying to win with Wolf Rod. And there's the Ra, which is fine. We don't really need the Ra. We can just draw into our deck and kill them that way. Okay, man, we can take their hand. You can see they left some Zelganeas in their hand for us, which is very nice, as well as the last Lorena is also in their hand. So we just go ahead and play that Ra and draw into their deck. We draw we put down the Lorena here because we just want to convert it into the Holy Water while we have play points here. The opponent does get their Lorena free evil to clear our Lorena, which is fine. We take some damage here, but we have a ton of healing because we stole their deck. We drew a Holy Water here, which is very good. We can go ahead and just draw into our deck with these Holy Waters. That's a lot of Holy Water. We pick out Jewel of Brilliance here, so we make sure to play Jewel of Brilliance first, because once we draw Holy Sanctuary, Jewel of Brilliance doesn't draw anymore, so we should play while we can, and then we can just go ahead and use these Holy Waters to draw into our deck. Now we have one card left with a Benevolent Blight in our hand. We are guaranteed to win unless they can somehow kill us this turn, which Sanctuary Haven can't do, so basically this is just a win. They can't do anything about it at this point, so pretty much it for this game, I guess. They go ahead and drop Ra here, I guess, for fun. I don't know what the point is. Take some damage here. Sure, I almost throw the game because I forgot that I don't have 14 health. I just played Zagonia thinking he would draw, but thankfully we had Lorena to draw, so that's it for this game as well. So those are all for the games I have for you today. Hopefully it gave you some idea of how to play Loxis, even though I'm not really an expert, but I mean, I think I played okay at this point, decently enough. Hopefully you got to see why I run Wolfrot on this deck. If you're wondering why there isn't that much variety with 2 aggro decks and Sanctuary Haven, it is because like 70% of my games are against Haven. So it's very hard to get variety in terms of footage when I play against the same deck every game and just play Wolfrot every game and win that way, which is not great. It's worth noting that now Ward Haven is also getting very popular and Wolfrot doesn't really work well against Ward Haven. If you're playing against a lot of Ward Haven, you might consider switching to Resolve instead, which is better both for clearing wards and as well as getting rid of stuff like Sarissa, which is otherwise very annoying for this deck, because you can see in this list we don't have good ways to clear Sarissa. And Ward Haven can be a bit of a bad matchup for this specific list. So yeah, that's it for today. See you next time. Bye bye.